If you want to learn how to make these incredible chocolate creme brulees that are super easy to put together, and it has this really great chocolate flavor and it has such a great texture. It's not too dense, it's just melt in your mouth. It's just such a delicious custard. You guys are going to love it. So let's get started. We are going to get started on chopping our chocolate, and I am using a semi-sweet chocolate. It's the Ghirardelli 60%, and I'm gonna just chop it to small pieces. I don't want it to be too big because that will not really melt very well. So, you know, chop it as small as possible, but don't worry about it too much. And we're gonna put this in a bowl and set it aside. So in a small saucepan, place your heavy cream in there, and then you are going to add your espresso powder. And the espresso powder really gives it a really good depth to the chocolate, and your vanilla paste. So I'm going to bring this to a boil on medium low heat, and I'm just going to whisk everything so that it kind of helps break down all the espresso powder and gets everything combined. And once this comes to a full boil, it could take like 4 minutes. It really just depends on your burner. And I'm gonna pour this over my chocolate, and once I pour it over the chocolate, don't touch it, let it chill so the chocolate can like bloom. And after you actually mix your egg mixture, then you can go back and whisk it, and everything will be melted and really nicely dissolved. So in a bowl, you're going to add your egg yolks, and to this, I am going to add my granulated sugar. And once you add your sugar in there, you want to quickly whisk together because, you know, sugar burns the yolks. So you want to make sure you're whisking that right away. And then course, add your salt before you start to whisk, and you really want to whisk this until you kind of work it in and work some air in there, and also like you don't see any yolks, and the sugar is kind of dissolving a little bit, kind of like this is what the texture you're looking for. So like I said, we had whisked our eggs. Now we're going back to the chocolate and giving this a good whisk, and everything should really come together and melt really quickly. So this looks really great. All the chocolate is completely melted. And now we're going to start to add a little bit of this mixture into the egg mixture. You don't want to add too much because it will cook the eggs, and then that's how you see a lot of the yolk striations in these custards, and we don't want that. So I'm gonna add about a thin stream, maybe about a 1/4 cup to this, and I'm gonna whisk right away while I add this mixture. This is kind of what we would say in the bakeries is your sacrifice to whatever your egg mixture is. And then once you add this sacrifice, you're gonna add a little bit more, and this is just gonna ensure that when I add all of the rest of the hot mixture, there won't be any of that egg striation. So I've added it there, got it combined. Now I'm gonna run it through a strainer to ensure that there are no lumps and you get that silky sort of texture. So I have a strainer here, and I'm just running it through. And as you guys can see, there's not a lot of that yolk mixture because we did the sacrifice and then we added a little bit more. And why you do it that way. So it might take a couple of seconds longer, but it's worth it because you really want all the ingredients in the mixture. And look at that, there's hardly any yolk or anything. So that's the secret to this. So once I have it in my cup, I'm going to prepare my baking sheet, and I'm using a brownie pan at 8-inch, and I'm putting 4 ramekins, and I'm filling it about to the rim there, so 3/4 of the way up. And now we're going to add water, and you want to add water about half of the way up from the ramekin, from the ramekins, as you guys can see. So I have little air bubbles there, and I just lightly torched it with a blowtorch, so that way it's nice and smooth. And I'm adding a little bit more water through the corners, and I'm going to cover this with foil paper, and you want to cover it really tightly, because if you don't cover it tight, a lot of the steam escapes. So you want to be able to, and I like to do this like fold over, where I fold it over to it, and then I just crimp the edges, make sure everything is super tight, so it creates tons of steam in there, and that just allows you to not have to bake it as long, because all of this steam is getting trapped in there. So my oven was already preheated at 275. It's been about 40 minutes, and I just like move it, and it jiggles like that. When you see it jiggle like that, you know that it's ready to come out. So I kind of take it out of the oven, and I just let it sit there for about 10 minutes. Then I pull them out and let them cool in the refrigerator for a minimum of 6 hours. So once they've cooled, I baked these the day before. I'm gonna show you guys how to torch them like we would in the restaurants. You guys can do this with the ramekin being on the floor, being on the tabletop, and there's no problem with that. It just takes a little bit longer. So sometimes when you like make creme brulees at home, or like my cooks would be learning how to brulee it, they would kind of melt the top, where the top was kind of a little watery, and then you get into the custard, and you don't want that. So I kind of hold the ramekin with my hand, and I swirl the caramel so that it melts the sugar super quick, and I'm not overheating the top, so you get this like that perfect luscious custard all throughout. You don't get that little like thin film of like runniness. And if you do get that, that's only just because you're overheating the custard, because this has cream. So now you know why. In case that happens, try and brulee your sugar a little bit less. You can just kind of torch it and stop, and then swirl it around if you want to do it that way. But this is the way I would teach the cooks in the fine dining restaurants that I worked in, and I think anybody could learn. It's not hard. You're not going to burn your hands as long as you like just hold the bottom tip of it. But if you're too scared, feel free to go the other way. Just don't keep torching it forever. That's the secret. So I'm gonna top this off with some fresh whipped cream, just because I think it would complement it really well. And let's bite into this. You can always tell from a creme brulee, a great creme brulee, that you get this like nice shard of, sugar, and it kind of cracks like that. Like, see how perfect that is? And it's a nice custard all throughout. That's kind of really what you're looking for, and it tastes so chocolatey. Get that nice little shard there. It's so silky and like will melt in your mouth. Great chocolate notes on it. You guys are going to love this creme brulee. It's great for a dinner party. You could make it the day ahead. It's just a great dessert. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, leave a comment below. I'll see you guys next time.